Day 2 here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for Indy 500 practice. An exciting day, pretty much focused on qualifying sims today. Not as much race running as we saw yesterday, but I gotta tell you, Ganassi, they're quick again. How dominant are they going to be? I think that's going to be the storyline of the month. And can anyone knock them off the pedestal? We've got driver interviews today. We've got a history segment. And we're also going to talk about the first incident of the month, which was a near miss. Thankfully, no crashed cars. But it's certainly worth noting and worth mentioning. So it's going to be a fun video. So let's talk about, I guess, lead off with the first incident of the month, at least what I'll consider the first incident of the month, and it was when RC Enerson decided to enter the Turn 1 warm-up lane from the racetrack. Now, you're allowed to do that, you're just not allowed to do it when there's another car on the warm-up lane, and that's unfortunately what happened today. Pato Award was there, RC entered the track, and if they didn't touch, boy, oh boy, did they get close. And Pato certainly let RC know his displeasure when he got onto the back straightaway. It apparently was a communications issue with the Abel Motorsports team. The pit box was talking. They talked over the spotter radio of Spencer Piggott, this Turn 1 spotter, and unfortunately a communication malfunction almost resulted in a big crash. Thankfully, both drivers drove away and continued throughout practice. No harm, no foul, I suppose. But let's take a look at the results of today, and it's very important to note that most teams focused on qualifying today. They were not focused on getting a big toe lap, they were not focused on traffic running, so you're going to see some names towards the bottom of the screen that aren't necessarily there legitimately. I'll let you know which drivers to worry about, don't you worry. So leading off is the defending champion of the Indianapolis 500, Marcus Ericsson, with the quickest lap this month at 229.6 miles per hour. Scott Dixon, much like yesterday, is in second place at 229.1. I should also mention Marcus Ericsson was the fastest no-toe speed at around 224.5 miles per hour. Simon Pagenaud with Meyer Shank Racing is third at 228 miles an hour. He's got the Andretti technology partnership, so it's interesting to see an Andretti car up there in some form or another. Will Power, Team Penske, 228.5. The Penske cars have been very strong on the no-toe charts, but of course they were last year, and once you put the boost to the motor, they weren't there. Colton Herta, who you will hear from later on in this video, is once again up near the top of the time charts, 228.2 miles an hour. Connor Daly, who ran in traffic most of the day, posted a 228.2 miles per hour average. Takuma Sato, who was fastest yesterday, didn't go quite that fast today at 227.8. Pato Award, who had the near miss, is in 8th position at 227.7. Alex Palou, who was also extremely fast on the no-toe charts at 227.7 as well. Ditto for Alexander Rossi, who we think is really good in traffic. Santino Ferrucci, sneaky fast for the AJ Foyt driver. Never finished outside the top 10. Got Michael Cannon Engineering behind him. Remember, those are the setups that have been so fast at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway the past few years. Graham Rahal got a good toe to get 226.9 and 12th place on the board. Tony Kanaan, quiet at 226.8. Kyle Kirkwood has been running in traffic really hard throughout the week. 226.6 was his fastest. Ditto for Augustine Canapino, who's still attempting to qualify for his first Indianapolis 500. Felix Rosenquist for Arrow McLaren in 226.5. Marco Andretti didn't get quite as big of a toe as he got yesterday. 226.5 for Marco. Elio Castro Neves at 226.4. Did a lot of traffic running today. Ditto for Stingray Robb at 226.4. Joseph Newgarden focused very much on single car runs today. Jack Harvey at 225.9. Ryan Hunter-Reay, another single car driver today, looking for qualifying, was the Dreyer and Reinbold team today. David Malukas, the 18 car, and he's pretty quick, and hopefully he'll go to the front because we need a driver who's named David on the Borg Warner Trophy. You'll hear from him later. Scott McLaughlin for Team Penske, another single car run driver at 225. Romain Grosjean, who's still towards the bottom of the speed charts, which I think is notable. I'm not exactly worried about him missing the race yet, but it's interesting to see nonetheless in 25th position. Benjamin Peterson had a really good no-toe speed, which is around 223 miles an hour, which is in the ballpark for the Fast 12, so hold on to your breath there. Christian Lundgaard got a good toe lap towards the end of the session at 225.1. RC Enerson ditto at 225.1. Devlin DeFrancesco, same position as he was yesterday in 29th for car 29. He did a lot of traffic running and has typically been pretty good in the no-toe charts. Ditto, especially for Rinus VeeKay driving for Ed Carpenter Racing. He did 81 laps today. That was the most of anyone except for David Malukas, who did 107. I corrected myself when I looked at the charts. But Rinus VeeKay, really quick on the no-toe charts. Ditto for Ed Carpenter. A lot of qualifying work for VeeKay and Carpenter. It looked like Daly was definitely the driver from that team who was doing the race running. Callum Ilott still towards the bottom of the speed charts, but not absolutely last at 224.7. Stefan Wilson was totally focused on qualifying today, and thus is 33rd at 224.6. And if we were qualifying today, Catherine Legg would go home for Rahal Letterman Lanigan at 223.9. So one of the big storylines from earlier today that I first saw on Trackside Online talking about tires. Firestone brought a softer compound of tire to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway this year, and some teams have been experiencing blistering. I talked to David Malukas about this phenomenon.
When the tires are new, we're good. The problem is our tires do not last long enough, compared to these other drivers. And we tried to do a full stint yesterday, and we couldn't do it. We had a pit, and we quartered the front left tire. So that's something that we're struggling with, and that's what we're going to focus on today, is trying to make that tire last without obviously losing any sort of speed and maybe inducing more understeer and more oversteer. So it's a little bit of an issue, but I don't think it's something too bad. I think by the end of today, we'll be able to figure it out. And obviously going to tomorrow, it's just full focus for qualifying.
Colton Herta has been near the top of the speed charts all month long. I talked to him about his confidence level both in himself, his car, and his team.
Felt pretty good. I think there's still a little bit for us. I think other guys were maybe a little bit happier on the team. We had a little bit too much understeer. So we're struggling just a little bit, but I wouldn't say we were bad by any means. But I don't think we were kind of that top 5 people when you're running out there. So we have a little bit to find, but overall I was happy with how yesterday went. We went from a car that I was somewhat happy with to making it a little bit better. So that's really the goal every day, is if you can make it a little bit better and not take steps backwards.
Driving Reinbold Racing looks really good. I really think they've got a strong package going into this month of May. They were so confident today that they worked totally on qualifying setup. So think about that. We talked to both of their drivers, Stefan Wilson and Ryan Hunter-Reay. Stefan Wilson, you look like, now I'm sitting in the cheap seats, right? But I would say that your day yesterday was really strong. Was it strong from the cockpit?
Yeah, I'd say so. First half of the day, for sure. We were really happy with the race car. We got a little bit greedy. We went back to the garage. We tried some more setup changes for the happy hour, and they kind of just were in the wrong direction, I think. And looking back, we can identify that. It's kind of nature of this place. You can't always make positive changes, right? You're going to have some times where you make a change and it doesn't quite have the effect that you want it to. So you can learn just as much from those as you can from the positive changes. So you're taking that experience and on that lessons and learn from that, and we can implement that as we go back to the race car, which we might get to run the race car again later today, but today is just going to be focused on qualifying. So all day yesterday was all on race trim, which is encouraging based on the no-toe speeds, because I think a lot of people were in qualifying trim yesterday. So today is really where we're going to see how fast the car is, by ourselves in qualifying trim and see what kind of speed it's got. And that's going to decide whether I'm happy or not happy, because I think the whole team is shooting for the Fast 12, trying to get both cars in the Fast 12, and that's what I want and what I'm shooting for. And we'll see if that's possible after today.
All right, Ryan, you looked extremely strong yesterday. You're a former champion. You've won this race before. Was it as strong inside the cockpit as it looks like outside?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the car was really good, running in race trim. That's all we've done, right, is running traffic, working on the race car. And, yeah, we made some good gains yesterday, and I was definitely happy with the car. The conditions that they were. This place changes so much day to day, right? Right when you think you've got it all figured out, the wind changes direction, temp goes up, and all of a sudden you're a little bit out of the window. So we just get our data sets for each different wind and weather condition, and I think we're making the right. We're checking the right boxes off right now. The car is definitely strong in traffic, and the good news is, I've been here before when I had a car that didn't want to tow up to the car in front, and this car definitely has that. So I'm happy. I'm happy with the progress we've made so far.
So we love talking about the small teams. We love talking about the rookies. RC Enerson passed his refresher test yesterday and got on track both yesterday and today. Here's him talking about his experience with Abel Motorsports.
Pretty surreal. I mean, it was great to come back. I mean, I did my first thing of ROP, and lap 1 was like 2:11, and I felt like I was under the 2:05 thing, and I saw that come up on the dash. I was like, man, I really got to slow down. And I don't think I hit full throttle a single time during that first phase.
Wow.
Just trying to keep the mile an hour down. So that means car's fast, which helps. And same thing, just able to breeze right through ROP. That's just, I mean, I think I even heard him say it on the broadcast. You don't see that very often. So they've done a lot of prep, and we have the right people on the car. I mean, John Brunner, he's been in this forever. He wouldn't put together an effort that didn't make sense and wasn't a top-notch effort. So we're super excited. We went back to the garage, get some real running gears in it, and come back out here and show decent pace.
And continuing the rookie trend, we're talking to the young man from Idaho, Stingray Robb. We love a rookie perspective on this channel, and here's his.
It was awesome. This place is so unbelievable, so fast. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing here. Pinching myself every morning, waking up like, okay, this is still real, this is still the real thing. But yeah, it's awesome.
So, what was your game plan yesterday? I know there were a few people working on qualifying. It looked like a lot of people were working on race setup. Where were you guys kind of with your program?
I think we were right there in the middle. We did a couple quality runs just to see what that was like, see what the car was like in clean air, a couple traffic runs to see what it was like in the tow, and yeah, we were working on everything that we could. I'm just trying to gain as much experience as possible. As a rookie, I don't know what I'm getting myself into here for the 500, so we're trying to cover all the bases early, and that way we can start fine-tuning later in the week. With the weather moving in, we'll see how it changes things, but it looks like we're going to be pretty good. The Dale Coyne car is pretty quick. David had a good tow earlier on in the day, but we got some things that we're trying to work on today, apart from yesterday, and take some big swings at some changes and see if I can't figure out something in the car.
So one of the most popular things we've gotten to hear from you guys, the viewers, recently is the love, I guess, for the history segments. We've heard from so many of you at the track talking about how much you love it. I appreciate that. Both me and Kyle really like the fact that you guys like those. We've put a lot of effort into them, getting the facts right, getting everything right. And so today we're talking about American cars at the Indianapolis 500. Some have won. You might not even know, if you're of a certain age, that any car that's not Italian has ever even competed here, much less won. We talk about some of the most recent ones in today's history segment. IndyCar has been a totally spec series in terms of chassis design since 2012. Dallara has won the last 18 Indy 500s. The last non-Dallara to win the Indianapolis 500 was Buddy Rice's Panos in the rain-shortened 2004 race. While the Panos chassis was constructed in the Panos headquarters in Brazelton, Georgia, the design work for the car was done in England. The last truly all-American chassis to compete in the Indianapolis 500 was the Riley & Scott Mark V, which competed in the 1998 and 1999 Indianapolis 500s, with Stan Waddles and Raul Boesel, respectively. Unfortunately, the chassis did not make a lasting mark on the 500 in its short career. Riley & Scott, as a constructor, did eventually win one IndyCar race, but it took a spectacular drive from Buddy Lazier at Phoenix in 2000 to go last to first to score that victory. The new Riley Mark 7 chassis, however, was not all-American. It was designed by Reynard in England and was slow at Indy. Even Buddy Lazier dumped the Riley in the first week of practice, and in the 500, he went on to finish second in an Italian Dallara. Before the Riley was the much more notable True Sports 92C, which was designed by Don Holliday and driven by Scott Pruitt. It was fabricated in the True Sports Racing headquarters in Hilliard, Ohio. The True Sports team was purchased by Bobby Rahal at the end of the 1992 season, and Rahal adopted the 92C, rebadging it as the RH01, and planned to build his own version of the True Sports chassis for 1994 and beyond to pair with Honda's brand new IndyCar engine. Those plans quickly changed when Rahal shockingly failed to qualify for the 1993 Indy 500. Rahal's True Sports was quickly retired for an English-built Lola.
Well, we took a gamble on our chassis. We thought we could make it work. Obviously, we've got some problems with it that we didn't think we would have, and we're paying the price for that right now. But
the CART IRL split prevented American-designed and built chassis, Eagle and Swift, from competing at Indianapolis. The last American-designed and built chassis to win the Indianapolis 500 was the Wildcat Mark 8B in 1982. The car was designed by Gordon Kimball, father of future Indy 500 starter Charlie, and fabricated and built in the Patrick Racing Shop on Lafayette Road in Indianapolis. The Wildcat, in the hands of Gordon Johncock, was involved in one of the great duels in the history of the Indianapolis 500. On the last pit stop, the Patrick Racing team did a timed fuel stop and drew a lead well over 10 seconds over the charging English-built Penske PC-10 of Rick Mears. Over the last 10 laps, Mears gained over a second a lap to be side-by-side with Johncock at the white flag. Johncock somehow held off Mears going into turn 1 and again coming off turn 4 to win what was at the time the closest finish in Indy 500 history. Tomorrow is Fast Friday at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But did you know that the fastest car in the field isn't always the pole sitter? We'll delve into that tomorrow. So, some final thoughts on today. Number one, bump day is going to be ridiculously close. I don't think there are any easy bumps in this field. I think some people would tell you that, but for me, I think qualifying is just going to be absolutely insane. I don't think you can predict someone who's going home. I think you could probably predict some of the drivers, Ganassi, who are probably safe, right? Like, they're not going to probably be in any trouble. But I think for the most part, you look at the last probably 10 cars on the speed chart, and any one of them could go home. It's totally wide open what this field of 33 is going to look like and which car is going to be on the outside looking in at the end of Sunday. Ganassi, I just mentioned that they're probably not in any bump day fears, and frankly, I think they could have a chance of sweeping the front row. That's only been done once before in 1988. Really, I think it's Ganassi versus the field. There's no doubt about it. And who are some people in the field that might have an opportunity to battle? Well, I would say Ryan Hunter-Reay. I mentioned that a couple of times already. But the other one I would say is Rinus VeeKay. We talked yesterday to Rinus about, what he has to do to get into that final segment of the race where he can compete for the win. Well, it seems like Ed Carpenter Racing has put him on a development path to do a lot of laps, get a lot of experience, learn how to be patient. Patience is what Rinus VeeKay is really going to need, because he's clearly got a fast car. He's clearly got a good car in traffic. I would look for him to be one of the guys that could step up and challenge Ganassi, and Alexander Rossi too, just for posterity's sake. Tomorrow, Fast Friday. We put the boost to the engines, and if you think about it, they were going 224.5 miles per hour today with no tow. Let's think about tomorrow with no tow. Typically, you gain about 8 to 10 miles an hour. Let's be generous and give them 10. I don't think I have to do the math for you to know it's going to be a fast day tomorrow. And if someone gets a tow, I wonder how fast we might see the speeds tomorrow. So it'll be exciting. You guys know to keep it here for the best Indy 500 coverage on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for watching and for your support, and I'll see you in the next video.